The Ballon d'Or race is heating up, and we're getting to the back end of the European season, and we've got a World Cup coming up, so there'll be some key deciding points to determine who will be this year's Ballon d'Or winner. And for me, I'm going to argue the case today that I think it's Harry Kane's to lose, and I'm going to set out why, so follow along now. I want to know your thoughts in the comments below, so jump in there. Once you've watched the video, let me know who you think should win or who you think will win, and what do you think the determining factors will be. But I'm going to put my case to you now as to why I think it's Harry Kane's to lose, so let's take a look. And the first thing I want to start off is just there's a key kind of point, I think, which will kind of determine the way things go in the future. So up to 2022, it's worth mentioning that the Ballon d'Or was determined over the calendar year. So Benzema was the last person to win it for the calendar year, so the year of 2022 as a whole. The way they award the award is just a strange one, really, but it kind of switched over in the 2022-23 season to it makes a bit more sense because that elongated period over like the full, it's part of one year, part of the other, maybe a continental or international tournament in the summer in between. So for me, I'm happy that they moved over to the 22-23 season format that we saw the year after Benzema won it, because it just makes more sense that you're actually awarding it for that particular period of time. And if you've got a tournament at the end of that period, so be it. So Benzema was the last year. So that's why I just want to focus on some of the stats and information looking at the last few Ballon d'Or winners rather than going back year after year, because I think looking at that seasonal way is a bit more like for like, apples to apples in terms of comparisons going forward. So just to kind of set that in stone, we're kind of looking at it from that period onward. So after the Benzema win, that's kind of what we're looking at really to see where are Kane's numbers versus the last few winners. And so the first one we're going to talk about, as you can see, was Lionel Messi, 2022-23 season, which also incorporated that World Cup at the start of that season. So in that winter period is when we got the World Cup. So here were some of the achievements for Messi in that period. So obviously he won the World Cup. He captained Argentina to victory, scoring 2 goals in the final. He got the Golden Ball Award, which was for the best player at the tournament. He had 7 goals, 3 assists in that World Cup. Some really, really impressive numbers. He also got the best FIFA men's player of that period, 22-23. He won Ligue 1 with PSG. He won the French League title with Paris Saint-Germain. I think that was the kind of one of his last few trophies there before he moved on to Inter Miami. He was also the Laureus World Sportsman of the Year award, second time winning that award. And he also got the World Cup silver boot, second highest goal scorer out of the World Cup. So I think it was only ever going to be Messi in that period. The kind of the levels of scoring in terms of goals and assists throughout that season, not as high perhaps as he's had in previous years, but instrumental in his team coming back from that disastrous start against Saudi Arabia in that World Cup, taking them through to winning it. It kind of makes sense. It was always going to be that. It's one of the frustrating things about the Ballon d'Or award, in my opinion, is it's quite predetermined. Like, it does feel sometimes that it's kind of shifting that way, whether or not the numbers kind of support it. But I think in this instance, it's hard to look past Messi and getting that big achievement of securing that World Cup, his first World Cup victory. So it kind of makes sense. But comparing that victory of his to his previous victories, it's probably not one of the highest individual performances. And then this is where the debate comes in, which we'll get into, is how do you weigh up the actual award itself? Is it an individual award, or is it a bit of both? It's a hybrid award in terms of how your teams perform versus how you perform as an individual, which I tend to think it is, and I'll get into a bit more of that discussion on that point when we start looking at Harry Kane's numbers. But that was 2022-23 season. If we go to the 23-24 season, we then had Rodri winning it, and he had such a key role in Manchester City's success in that period. It was kind of trending in that direction. The fact that then he was part of the Spain team that won Euro 2024 was probably one of the key elements which kind of pushed him over the edge above other players who might have more flashy numbers in terms of goals and assists. So it kind of makes sense that that kind of team performance was very useful to him securing this award. So Spain, Euro 2024 champions. He was also player of the tournament, which is kind of a key metric there in kind of showing how well his performance was key to Spain winning. Also, he was a Premier League champion, a record-breaking 4 straight title with Manchester City. They also won the Club World Cup in 2023 in December. He also got the tournament best player for that as well. They also had the UEFA Super Cup win, penalty shootout victory over Sevilla. He was in the PFA Team of the Year for the domestic league dominance, and then also he was selected as part of the IFFHS World Team, one of the world's elite midfielders. So his kind of key role, and he with the Manchester City performances, I remember at that time he really just stood out as the key kind of linchpin in that team, and like really kind of key in everything they did, and the sustained success of Manchester City, and then going on to have the tournament success in the summer in Euro 2024 with Spain. It kind of just pushed him over the edge. The fact he won the best player of the tournament awards for the Euros plus the Club World Cup, it kind of just made so much sense. And for me, I really like to see non-attacking players winning this award. If we can look beyond the metrics sometimes in terms of goals and assists and how key a role a player plays. I think that was similar with the Modric win as well. Like, he was so instrumental in every success that he was having in club level, and how well Croatia were doing on the tournaments at that time. It kind of made sense. So it was nice in this instance to see that recognised as a midfielder winning it as a key player, despite the fact that numbers aren't necessarily there with goals and assists. I think it's nice to see. In contrast, we take that over to the year after that, where we have the 2024-25 award went to Ousmane Dembele, and he had a stellar year, both in terms of numbers, but also in terms of how his team was performing. He was also won the best award too. We had the Champions League win for PSG, and he was so key in all its success there, and he was named the MVP of the Champions League that season. He was also League 1 Player of the Year. He also won the Ligue 1 Golden Boot with the joint top scorer with 21 goals. Treble winner in France too. And he also won the Ballon D'Or award too for Europe's best player by the Onze Mondial readers. So his numbers were impressive that year. And without there being a summer tournament of note with either a continental competition or the World Cup, it kind of allowed that pathway for his impressive performances in France, plus the success of PSG. It was going to be a PSG winner, and that Champions League success seems to be quite a driver in terms of determining who those key 1 or 2 or 3 players are going to be in the mix for this award. And that brings us to this current season. So 25-26, who's it going to be? Who do you think it's going to be? And I'm arguing it's going to be Harry Kane. And I'm going to talk you through the reasons why I think that. Because I think Harry Kane has had an absolutely stellar year of any metric. His team are performing well. They've already won the title as I record this. They've also got domestic cup competition on the horizon too, and we've got the Champions League there as well, that could be key, I think, which could determine it. Even if Bayern do not progress to the final, I still think he should be in the mix, and probably the numbers he's put up this season should actually get him over the line. But we've got these 2 determining factors which are not complete yet. One is the Champions League. What does that determine in terms of what players are in the mix as those top contenders? If there's no other top contenders in the mix in the final couple of games, I don't think there's any Arsenal player that is standing out for. So if Arsenal progress to the final, and then if PSG do, people might argue there's certain players in PSG, but I don't think there's been a standout PSG player this year compared to last year with Dembele. Dembele's not at that level again this year. I just don't think there's a PSG player that is standing out as much as Harry Kane has stood out in terms of their on-the-field performances. So even if PSG go on to win the trophy, I don't think, in my personal opinion, that's enough to edge any PSG player into the mix. But we'll get into that in a moment. But let's just talk about Harry Kane this season. It's an incredible season. He's the first Englishman to reach 500 professional goals achieved in this season. So February 2026, Kane became the first English player to hit this landmark in official matches, surpassing Jimmy Greaves' long-standing record of 474. He's also the fastest to 100 goals for a single club. and in those Europe Big Five leagues. He hit that mark in just his 104th game for FC Bayern Munich. He's also got the English single season scoring record, the best in 95 years. He's the first Englishman since 1931 to score 50 goals for a top flight side in a single campaign. This was previously achieved by Dixie Dean, Vic Watson, and Tom Waring. He's also the fastest to 95 Bundesliga goals. He's done that in just 91 matches, shattering the previous record held by Dieter Müller in 123 games. That's astonishing. That's an astonishing record. He's also the first player in 60 years to score at least 20 Bundesliga goals in each of his first 3 campaigns. He's the fastest to 100 goal involvements. In December 2025, he achieved that mark. 100 goals and assists, doing so in only 78 matches. Highest opening period tally. He set a new league record by scoring 11 goals in the first 6 matches of a season. Longest scoring streak for an Englishman. Like, this goes on and on. This is unprecedented scoring season for Harry Kane. He beat Gerrard's record there, which was 6 games, surpassing him in the 2007-2008 run, which Gerrard achieved. And that's in the Champions League, just to note. Most English goals in a single UCL season. He's broke his own record for that from the previous years for the most goals by an Englishman in a single season. He's currently on 13. He's the fastest to 50 UCL goals, which is another English record. 50 goals in just 66 games. Third fastest player in the history behind Erling Haaland and Ruud van Nistelrooy, and faster than both Messi and Ronaldo. Most goals scored while playing for a non-English club. He's beaten Gary Lineker's record there, who scored 70 goals at Barcelona. He scored 18 plus times for the Three Lions since moving to Germany. So moving his home has not impacted his performance for England at all on an international level. And he's also extended his all-time top scorer record for England, which is currently at 78 goals. He's just far and away ahead of the next closest person, which is Rooney on 53. And just to kind of cement everything, he's the first player to average over a goal per game across his first 100 Bayern appearances. So it's an astonishing season in terms of record-breaking, record-setting. But one of the kind of the key things we're going to be talking about, like Kane versus everyone else that's in the mix. And so I've just done this on the basis of a kind of a segment of kind of the people in the mix for the award, the names that are getting mentioned. And if you compare Harry Kane to them and what they're achieving on the personal level in terms of their own individual performances through the season, Kane, 33 league goals, 5 assists, 8 goals in domestic cup competitions, 13 goals and 2 assists in European matches, 8 goals in international fixtures. So he's got a goal and assist record of 69 total, 62 goals, 7 assists. Compare that to Mbappe, he's ahead, 47 and 7 for Mbappe. It's just there's nobody close to him. Yamal has got 26 goals, 20 assists, so that's only 46 versus 69 of Kane. Haaland's probably the closest, but I think a lot of people will probably agree. Like, Haaland, although he still scored goals, his kind of it's not kind of grabbing your attention perhaps as much as Kane is, and consider the fact that City have been out of the European Champions League already. It's kind of, I just don't think Haaland's in the mix this year at all. I think it'd be unjust if he ended up winning the award. So, and then the kind of the late surge in terms of the player that's kind of catching people's eye is probably Olise's performances in recent weeks and recent months. His goal and assist record is not on the same level as Kane by any margin, but he's been key in everything Bayern have been doing and been a great success. So, but if it comes down to like one of the two Bayern players, if Bayern do get to the final of the Champions League, if they do win that competition, I don't see how you pick Olise over Kane. But then comes a determining factor, which is, despite all this statistical information and the fact that Kane's done all this record setting, his on-field performances are incredible. He scored a ridiculous number of goals. He's creating as well. In my mind, he should win the award on that basis of what we've just gone through there. And if you compare him to his peers this season, he's ahead of them. And Bayern have had enough success in Europe to kind of sustain that conversation. As you can see, there's no PSG players in the mix for me. Some people might argue Vitinha, some people might argue some other PSG options. But for me, I don't think a PSG player is in the mix, even if PSG do get to the final. I think that would be unjust if a PSG player won it this season. I just don't think there's anyone standing out. But once the season's over, we have a World Cup year upon us as well. So is this going to be the determining factor? Is Kane and England's performances at the World Cup going to be that key marker as to who actually takes home the Ballon d'Or award? I don't think England will win the World Cup. Let's put that out there. It's then depends, I guess, is do Spain or France win it? Is Spain or France win it and Olise or Yamal play a key role? Is that going to push them over the edge to get the award? On the basis of the individual league performance, remember, this is meant to be an award based on an individual's performances over a season. And of course, we've got all these caveats attached with regards to the team performing during that season. Because if Harry Kane had scored these numbers on Tottenham this season and Tottenham was still in the relegation mix, which is quite feasible, they could still lose a bunch of games even if he scored a bunch of goals, Kane would not be in the mix. So we have to accept that the team's performances across the season is also a determining factor in whether players are considered within this award or not. That's fine. We accept that. On that basis, I think Kane's ahead. If there is a kind of tiebreaker there where people are seeing Kane on the same level as Yamal, the same level of Olise, the same level as Mbappe, and then France go and win the World Cup and Mbappe plays a key role, or Olise plays a key role, and England go out in the quarterfinals, does that mean that Kane won't win the award? I think possibly yes. I don't think that would be the correct decision. I think on the basis of this season, I think Kane has been the best player to win this award. There could be a situation whereby Kane wins the Golden Boot. There's every chance that England score a bunch of goals in the group stages. Kane gets ahead in that race to win the Golden Boot. But England don't progress beyond the quarterfinals. Does that mean that he then still wins despite France perhaps winning it or Spain perhaps winning it? So there's a lot of factors out there which mean this competition isn't finalised. I think Kane is leading and it's his to lose. But the determining factor is going to come down to this World Cup. And can his individual performances shine through in terms of being that Golden Boot leader without an England win? Because I just don't think England will win. They just don't win the big tournament. If England do win, it's automatic. He will win. Because he will be the one with his hands on the trophy raising the World Cup. It's that iconic image that we saw with Messi in Qatar. So I think if England win the World Cup, it's his. If England progress quite far and Kane wins the Golden Boot, it's his. But if England get to the quarterfinals, Kane doesn't win the Golden Boot. If Yamal wins the tournament with Spain or Mbappe or Olise win with France, I think it's a real coin toss then to who's going to win this award. I personally still think Kane should win based on the seasonal performance, but it's always kind of that recency bias that will factor in here is actually determining who is going to win this award. I personally think it should be Kane. I think there's still some factors out there which mean it could go the other way. I think there's enough weight behind Kane to win this award. I'm curious to know, what do you think? Get in the comments right now. Who is going to win the Ballon d'Or this season, 2025-26? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, do hit the like button. It does help with all the algorithm stuff that enables more people to get involved, more people to view this. As always, appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you again next time.